حدث. فتحت بس ليه وهفضل مستني بقى. اتفضل، الشعب كله قاعد جنبي. حدث على ما اظن بدأ. ابعدوا ابعدوا، ايوه كده، بس كده. مكاني، ابعد ابعد. انا اخد افضل مكان على فكرة، قاعد في نص الشاشة، فاهم انت؟ كلهم خنازير عمالين يجوا يقفوا قصادي.
دول شكلهم متيمين عليا والله.
روح اقعد معاهم تحت بقى بليز، خليني اقعد بقى في النص.
آخر 4 قدامي
اه في
شكلهم
النص
متيمين عليا.
بالظبط، بس كده. هيبدأ كمان 3 دقايق على فكرة.
يا فهد اهدى.
ده ايه يا عم؟ انا بقول لك بس.
شجوني كأنهم متيمين. ابعدوا وين؟
بس بيتصل عليا ده، مش وقتها خالص تتصل. اسلام.
متيمين متيمين. قتلني بكبس. العنهم. متيمين. حاطين في كتاب.
بقول لك ايه، ابعت لابو فل المجموعة. يا حبيبي انت وهو انسى، مش هتحرك من هنا، انا قاعد في افضل مكان على الشاشة قاعد.
ادخل.
خش بسرعة، فاضل دقيقة ونص. بص انا هعملها مش اسلام سولو، معاه اسلام ابو فل. عملتها بابليك، ابعت له تاني بسرعة بس عشان اكمل. انسوا، مش هتحرك من هنا، انسوا عند اهلكم. لو اتحركت انا في نص الشاشة بالظبط. واعمل لها فوكس كمان ثانية. ايوه بس كده.
بعد لي تطو تاني.
انت فين؟ الله ينعلك، بسرعة قبل ما الحدث يبدأ. خش بسرعة.
وانا ينفع اخش عليك كده على طول؟
اه خش بسرعة. خش خش
انا
بسرعة
مجهز
بسرعة.
اغنية
فاضل
فلاينج.
دقيقة، فاضل دقيقة بالظبط. بسرعة.
ما بيدخلش ليه؟ خلاص دخل.
فاضل 30 ثانية على طول، روح على الشاشة الكبيرة ماشي، هتلاقيني واقف هناك.
ما بيدخلش بسرعة.
خلاص الحدث هيبدأ اهو، فاضل 20 ثانية. انا مسجل، انا بادئ بس، فخلاص بس كده كل واحد اخد له زاويته. 9 8. بس خلاص الحدث بيبدأ اهو.
ما ادخل.
بس الحدث بدأ.
ساعة. والله شكلهم ما طلعوني. شفت ما يطلع. ايوه.
اجري بسرعة على الشاشة الكبيرة، اجري بسرعة على الشاشة الكبيرة.
The badge is better than having some heart. Okay, look now, look how they running. They beating white people down just to show us what's coming, or to show us we nothing, or to show us we only welcome when singing or balling. Just shut up and dribble. Word, high rock, low.
Hey everybody, I'm Carrie Champion. Welcome to We the People. So today we are having a very candid conversation with athletes and artists who want to make sure that you use your voice to vote. Voting is your voice. So we have so many
كلام
different
كده
issues
عن
that have happened in
العنصرية
this
وكده.
country. It's really truly unprecedented times. So I'm
خلينا
looking
نسكت بقى
forward to
ونسمع.
these conversations. I think you'll be educated as well as entertained, but most importantly informed. We have morethanavote.org, whenweallvote.org, and fairfight.com. Those resources
أنا وراك على
are
فكرة.
imperative as we
تعال اقعد
try to
جنبي،
change our
تعال اقعد
future.
جنبي، اخلص.
Yeah, la.
There's no way that we can talk about hip hop.
يا ابني انا موجود
لابس
في نص،
fact that we want to talk
لابس
about
يا ابني
activism,
فوق اسمي
black
باين
voter
على
suppression
اسمي يا
without
حبيبي،
bringing
انا
in this
فوق
guy
اهو.
straight from
خلاص
Fort
باين.
Texas. We are
انا
talking
فوق اهو
about
اللي
Bun
بنط
B.
ده.
He is
الله
an
ينعلك،
activist,
انت
a
قاعد
scholar,
ازاي؟
and
اقعد
an
جنبي
all-around
اخلص.
gentleman. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
اقعد جنبي
Bun, I don't
اخلص.
want to start heavy, but I guess I have to because that's where we are in the world today. It's heavy as hell. And when you think about what needs to happen in this country in terms of change, what's the first thing that you think of?
Equality. That's pretty much the first thing that comes to mind, right? Black people need to be seen as equals in this world. You know, we had to fight just to be recognized as a full citizen in this country and not 3/5.
The world is now seeing what we've known for so long in the culture and in the community.
اللي
The
عندي
one way
لابس
to
هدي بس،
حلوان
هدي
ده
بس، هدي بقى، هدي هدي صوتك،
about
صوتك
what
هدي.
voting means to you.
I hear people all the time talking about one
استنى يا
vote
اسلام
doesn't
بس شوية
matter and
اخلص
that voting
الحدث
doesn't make a
والعب
difference.
معاك شوية
If
بعدين.
that's true, why do they work so hard to suppress the black vote? Because they understand the power of the vote. And so it's time that black people collectively also understand the power of their vote. And not just on a national level, because a lot of times we only have this conversation every
على
4
زي
years.
الزفت.
People need to be
يا
very much
حمدي هدي
involved
شوية
in their
صوتك
local
بس.
politics.
هذا اسمع.
They need to understand who their elected officials are, where they stand on issues that affect you. And you need to use your vote to either support the ones that care about you and your condition or to elect people who do. A newer initiative that we're dealing with is educating felons, right? So in the state of Texas, if you're a felon, right, if you've been to jail or to prison, but you're no longer on probation or parole, you have the right to register to vote. Another thing that was just brought to my attention is an initiative called Orange, which is happening not just in Houston, but all over the country. If you're in jail currently during pretrial, but you have not been convicted, like you're still in jail waiting for your day in court, you are still eligible to vote.
And you said something so key. They work so hard to hope that we stay uninformed, but more importantly, to suppress the black vote. If you could do one thing with this message that we're trying to send today about how important voting is, what type of images would you like our people to understand and see when they go to these polls and vote or when they cast their ballots?
I think the images that we've all seen,
بقول لك يا
I'm
اسلام،
saying, for decades in this country,
خش على
if
قناتي كده
not
شوف
centuries in
الجودة
this
حلوة ولا
country,
وحش.
we've seen black people oppressed, we've seen black people attacked. So every time you look back and you see those old black and white images of people of color being attacked by dogs and people of color being sprayed with hoses, that's what they were fighting for. Back then, they were just fighting for a chance to vote. people like Martin Luther King Jr., people like Malcolm X. These people died to help us um, be in a position to have the power that we have now, which is to be able to cast a vote and make a decision about the people that have controls over our lives. So, I mean, if you in your own community need a reason to vote, look at a person like George Floyd. If the people in your city are not open to police reform, are not open to having a conversation about defunding the police, are not open to issues concerning economic equality, judicial equality, and racial equality, right? If they're scared to say Black Lives Matter, you have the power to put people in those positions who do believe that Black Lives Matter, who do believe in racial equality, economic equality, judicial equality,
سيرفر
right?
خنازير والله
Who see
العظيم
us
الولا
as
عمال
human
يتنطط
beings.
مش راضي يسمع
And if the people
أبو
in your
غباء.
community don't feel that way, vote them out. It's that simple. It's just vote them out. We don't
انا
have enough
مخي مش
time
شايف
to sit
حاجة.
around and hope that people change their minds.
Yeah, Bumpy, you point out something so important. We have the power, and that is in our vote, and that is with our voice, and that's how we use our voice. I think of where we are right now. People say this is a
هم
particular
عايزين
moment, but it
تصويت
is a
ليه
movement,
يا بابا؟
not just a moment. It
بحاول
is a
أفهم يا
movement.
عم.
Why, in your opinion, was it George
عشان على
Floyd's
ما أظن
death? Why was
عشان
that the chosen
الناس توقف العنصرية
brutality for
وكده
people
على
to
ما
say, oh my
أظن
God, black people are still oppressed?
عشان
in this
لسه
country?"
في
And it
ناس
is not.
من البشرة
I
اللي
think it's
منهم لونها
twofold,
أبيض
Gary. So
بيلسوا
many
عليهم
different
عنصرية
encounters
للناس اللي لونها
between people of color and
لكن
the
فاهم
police.
أنت؟
There simply is no proof of what happened in the interaction. And so what happens is in a court of law, it tends to lean towards the policeman's
الجودة
point
كويسة
of
إسلام
view,
ولا خرا؟
right? In this case, we saw very clearly what
بس كده
happened.
مش هسمع
I think the
كلام
other
سلام
thing
في
is
الناس.
due to the fact that everyone was at home, basically, during this time period in relation to the coronavirus. You couldn't avoid it, right? It was on every television station. It was on
هو
every
اتنين
social
واقفين
media
في الشاشة
platform.
مش شايف
Everywhere
حاجة.
you turn, you were constantly hit
جودة
upside the
اللاعب
head
ذات
with this
نفسه
message.
كانت
You see in the interaction that this man did nothing to deserve what happened.
الفيديو اللي موجود
So
مش
well
عارف
said,
الجودة
because
بتاعت
if you think
اللعبة.
about
مش
it,
جودة
in
حلوة يعني؟
the grand scheme of
لا
things,
الجودة
it
بتاعت
wasn't
اللعبة
worth it, and he did
ومالها؟
have to lose his life. I think that we
ماشي.
you touched on something that a lot of people
بس
talk about,
بتاعت الفيديو اللي
and
موجود
that is
ده
now
مش
defunding the
زي الجودة
police. That
بتاعت
has been
فورت
such
يعني
a
بتاعت
huge
فورت أحسن
conversation,
بكتير.
أيوة
but there's so
عشان
many
فورتنايت
misconceptions around
أكيد يعني
defunding
إسلام
and
بس المهم إن الناس هتقدر تشوف يعني
if you
الناس صح؟
will, educate the
أيوة
audience.
بس ده اللي
All right, so
مش هعمل
most
أي
people, when they
حاجة.
hear
أنا
the
مسجل
term
الحدث
defund
بس
the
عشان الناس
police, they
تشوفه
tend to
بس
think of, oh,
تعطية
they're going
للناس
to
اللي
take
مش
away our
محطوش
police
وكده.
department. Nothing could be further from the point. Defunding the police means that in certain communities, even Houston, take for example, we had over $1 billion allocated to our police force. Now, what is that money being used for? Some of that money tends to be allocated towards riot shields, right? Pepper spray, right? That kind of thing. That's only used against the people that fund this budget, right? So why would the people want to supply the police with the means to oppress them? If the police are concerned about the situation
أنا أتحدى لو
in certain
نص العيال
communities
اللي موجودين
with a
قصادي دول
higher
فاهمين
crime rate,
كلمة.
well, higher crime
يا
rates
إسلام؟
tend to happen in communities where there's not
ممكن يكونوا داخلين
there's not employment
داخلين
opportunities,
فيلم
right? There's not a
مفكرينه
lot of
فيلم
social
أتحدى
services,
لو
and
نصهم
people are
فاهمين
going to
حاجة.
do what they need to do to take care of
في
themselves
ناس
and their
عمالة
families. When a
تتكلم
community
معايا
has more
وتقول لي
opportunities for employment,
العلامة
عمالة
دي
تتكلم معايا في
of
الإشارة.
mobility, then they tend to be a less of a strain on the
خليه
government.
مسكين.
They tend to have a lower crime rate, and because of that, we'll have less need for the police in those communities.
You are passionate about so many different things in terms of making sure that we are holding our leaders accountable. Talk to me about some of the other projects that you're working on.
Well, right now, obviously, being a part of More Than a Vote is essential. We're dealing with primaries in this country right now, and we just want to educate people. We want to inform people because people are tired, they're angry, they're concerned, and they want information and they want
أنت اللي جنبي
action.
ده صح؟
And so we want to make sure that we give them the right information and lead them in the right direction. And we thank
دي
the
أفضل
people
زاوية
that do
أقعد
not
عليها.
look like us for standing with us right now, because it's very important that people who aren't black be involved, because if black people could have gotten rid of racism, we would have done it hundreds of years ago. And so I'm trying to use my voice and my platform just to let people know that if they feel like I do, there's a number of places they can go to enact change in their community. People need to know about how their city council runs. They need to know that they have the ability to speak when city council meets, to let them know that that's not the way that they feel their city needs to be run. Those are not the places that they feel the money of their community needs to be allocated.
And Bubby, even a step further, they can run for office in their local community. They can run for positions. Like, people act like they leave it up to somebody else. If you're upset, it's not hard to get on the school board. It's not hard to be a part of the city council. It
شوف
really isn't.
الخنزير اللي جاي
Depending on how small
وقصادي
your
ده.
town is, you could be a mayor. It's the power is with the people, and we need to just know that
دوس
that's
L2 كده يا
happening.
يا حمدي.
Absolutely. And it's always been with the people. You know, if you look at Trayvon Martin's mother, Sabrina Fulton, right? She felt that there was a system of racism and a system of oppression that led to her son's
تعالى
death.
نتعاطى عشان
And so what did she
الجواز
do? She
قدامي
ran
ده.
for city council and she
لا
was
انا
elected
زاويتي
city council.
كويسة، انت
Our
لو رحت
own former
اليوتيوب
president
وشفتها
44,
افضل
Barack
زاوية ممكن
Obama,
موجودة في
right,
المكان.
started in the community as an activist,
صح
ran for an elected position, became senator, ran for another elected position, and became president of the United States. So don't think that you can't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? You don't need
اسلام
a
تخيل
lot of
المكان
money.
اللي
You
انا
don't
واقف
need a
فيه
lot of
دوت
power. Your
يا اسلام،
voice is enough to make a
ناس
difference.
كتيرة عمالة تحاول تخليني
Man, I
اتحرك
feel
منه.
like I need to go out and run for something. You gave me a rousing speech there, sir. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this. When I talk to my brothers, I have to ask you, as a black man, how are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good. I have a very strong relationship with God, so prayer
أبعد
definitely works for
من
me.
الشاشة.
I have
اللي
children and
طاير ده صح.
grandchildren who are watching me, who are encouraged by what I do, and they're proud of me right now, you know, and that's really what matters, you know. The change starts at home, you know, so as long as you have a support system that believes in what you're doing and supports you in what you're doing, you have everything you need to go out there and fight the good fight. And for those that don't, there's a community of people here to help you. So you can go to places like morethanavote.org. There are many different places that will encourage you, inform you, and they will put you with groups of people that feel like you, that are ready to take action. So no one has to go about this alone if they want to do it.
Yeah, we're stronger together. People have been saying it, but that has much more meaning now that we are in our movement, not just this moment. Bumby, it has been an education, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Keep fighting the good fight.
Keep up the good fight.
Yeah, la la.
So our next guest, I have to admit, I'm a fan, but there are so many different people that we could talk to, and I thought it was so imperative that we speak with her. You know her
شوف
as
الخنزير ده اللي
Molly,
عمال
a
يتنطط
huge,
قصادي.
successful show, Insecure. And she is Insecure. She also has a comedy special
لو مسكته ده في
highlighting her
الحقيقة
eventually
اديله
fruits,
بوز
and she's
من
an
كتر اللي
amazing
بيعمله ده.
podcaster. Let's welcome in Yvonne Orgy, everyone. You
لا
have
مش
such a
فاهم حاجة
beautiful
يعني
way
هيعمل ايه؟
of making things funny, giving us
بيضايقك
our
بس.
medicine with some candy, right? The humor and the healing. You bring all of that to your space. And right now,
لا
as
ليش
you
ما
look
خلص ده
across this
مركز
country and how
زي
everyone
هنا.
is so broken and so upset, if it's not social injustice, it's the pandemic, it's depression, it's
اتحدى لو الولد ده
the
فاهم
list goes
حاجة
on and
أصلا.
on. How are you doing, quite frankly?
You know, I'm rediscovering self in a way that is hard but necessary,
ضروري.
that will lead to ultimate joy. I know it sounds like a lot, but no, I think I personally think that God put all of us on a global timeout. Like
طلبها
we
بعت
just,
لواحد صاحبي.
you know, America hasn't done as
ماشي.
good as other people when it comes to timeouts because
This is
everyone else
America.
is out playing at recess, and we're still in the principal's office hoping and wishing we
بيحب
could come
يلعب
out.
ايفكس هو بس
But
مش
I think
مش
that
عالي قوي.
if we settle
ماشي
into
اسلام
the
خلاص.
timeout and really learn the lesson that we're supposed to learn from this season, I think we'll emerge better. We'll learn how to play well with others in more ways than one. And so personally for me, I'm
خلاص يا
taking this time
خنزير.
to learn me in a new way. I feel like I'm being ushered into a new season and I'm getting still because sometimes the busy confounds the work that we're supposed to actually be doing. You know, we're busy doing other stuff, but we got work that we need to do on the inside. And I'm leaning into it. I'm like, dang, I thought I was gonna be able to rest like everybody else.
طب اروح
And these
مجموعة
guys
ولا
like, nah, we
بس
got
روح
work.
روح انت ماشي ماشي.
You know what? And I think that's what everybody is saying about
Oh,
2020.
dude,
It's demanding that we be better. And you said it's a global timeout. What do you mean?
والله أنا عايزة أنزل
Yeah,
إيبكس
it's like
بس.
everyone sit down, be humble, to
وبعدين
quote
يا
the
عم
great
طب
prophet
نزلت
Kendrick Lamar.
دلوقتي خلاص.
But like, no, seriously, sit down and let's reevaluate some things. Let us unearth and shake up the things that we have been trying to hide within ourselves, within our nation. I think America is going through an unraveling right now, a much needed, a much necessary one. And I think all eyes on us, right? There is no, oh, I was on the subway for an hour, so I didn't miss that thing that happened. No, everybody was home. Everybody, was watching when George Floyd died, and everybody, no one could hide it. Everyone was watching when Amy Cooper called the cops. Like, this is a time where it's like, oh, we can't pretend it away. We can't excuse it away. No. It's a global timeout. Sit down, watch, and let's learn. And globally, it's like, hey, we were going business as usual, but it ain't usual no more. Like that's old. anytime change occurs, it's very uncomfortable. And so right now we're sitting with the we're
شوف
getting
الخنزير رجع.
we're getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
طب هو
And in
عايز
most cases,
ينام،
we've
طب
been
روح واحدة
comfortable with
تانية.
being uncomfortable because
عشان
that to
احنا في
me
افضل زاوية على
explains
فكرة،
just
احنا
the
التلاتة
existence
في
from
افضل
whatever
زاوية
we want to
موجودة
do,
في
how we
المكان
break
على
into
فكرة.
our careers, how we live our
أيوه
lives, how we
هو
find ourselves.
بيخرب.
One of the few,
شو
one of
نفرق
the
من
first,
مكاننا.
and that's a lonely road. When you
لا على
look
عايز
فكرة،
and you talk about this
على فكرة
global
شايف ان
timeout,
احنا بقينا
everybody has to pay
قليلين.
attention to
كان في
anything.
حوالي 3 سكول
Everyone has to
تروبر
pay
وناس
attention to
كتيرة
George
عاملين
Floyd. How is
عايزين
that
عمالين يتنططوا
helping
قصادي، وانا
us as a
ثابت مكاني
people,
مش
as a
هتحرك.
country during our global timeout?
I think, well, one, we're not minorities, Carrie. You already know it. It's like these labels that they put on us. It's like the same way of saying like black on black violence. Also, there's no white on white violence. It's branding,
Yeah,
right? It's all branding.
You're
Yep.
right. You're
It's
right.
like white people kill white people
بالظبط.
every single day. So no, there is no black on black violence. And if you say black on black violence, well then let's brand white on white violence. Like I watch Investigation Discovery.
الفرق يعني.
Ain't too many of us being featured. So I just even like, but to answer your question, what does that do? I think what everyone expected is what has happened in the past when the world was still open, right? In
الحدث فاضل
that,
له ربع ساعة على ما المفروض
okay,
ان هو
you
يطردونا
had
كلنا منه.
everyone, from
يطردونا
عادي
Trayvon
بعدين
خلينا
Martin
يطردوا.
to
نطلع ولا
Castilius to
نكمل؟
Sandra Bland, you had
لا الحدث
all of
شكله
these
هيفضل
lives
مستمر ربع
lost,
ساعة كمان.
and black people made some noise.
بتبص فين
خلاص.
انت؟
We
بتبص
rioted,
فين انت؟
we got out in the street,
بتبص يمين
we
وشمال
started
ليه؟
the Black Lives Matter movement, all of those things. And then white people kind of just like, oh, let's give them something,
خلاص
and then it's just like, is it over? It's
كنا
like
بنحش مني.
Oscars so black. Okay, good. We gave you some Oscars. Are we good now? Like, are we
Oscar.
even? And it's just like, oh no. This is not about like a band-aid. It's like, yo, we might have to amputate the leg a little bit, but it's all right because by amputating the leg, we're gonna save the body. And so I think that's what's happening now. Like America is realizing, like, oh, black people aren't just making a little bit of noise. Like the protests are still out. The conversations are still being had. The change is still being demanded. And I think they're seeing, oh, this is not going no way. And no, it's not, because we need
والله
systematic
صح.
change.
What a beautiful way to explore what is happening in
حط
just
أنا
one
دخل جوا
country. We
الشاشة.
might have to amputate
شايف
the
انت اللي
leg.
داخل
That's
جوه
to save
الشاشة
the
ده
body.
ملجلج ألف على
That's what's
فكرة.
happening right now. That's beautiful, Yvonne. And
عايز
to that
يخرج
end, I have to
الحدث
ask
من
you
جوا
this,
عشان ما
because
يروحش
the way
حد
that we do
يضايقه.
that, we use our voice. And our voice
وجاي
right now in
يضايقنا
this
اهو.
world, in
شوف
this country, is our vote.
الحمد
ده
لله.
أنا
And
زي معايا.
everyone talks about voting
يجي
and how
يخرب
important it
بدل ما
is, but I
يوقف.
feel like more than ever we understand that it's not just about voting every 4 years for the man in office. It's about your local elections. It's about the mayor. It is about the district attorney, the people who have the power to bring charges against police if police brutality is an issue in your community. If you care about your school district, you can run for the school board. I ask this of you, right? Your parents are from Nigeria. You are Nigerian. You talk about that very lovingly. What does voting mean for you?
I think voting is power. I remember, I
شوف
became a natural
سباق مين يخش هو.
back in the 90s, when because I was still a minor, my mom naturalized, and so we were able to do it under her. And just even that power of like, we are American citizens, and all the access that we have by being citizens, one of those accesses and those access to power being voting. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because not only do we have the opportunity to be in this country, but now we can be of the country. We can be of the rules. We can be of what it actually affords. But I think going back to your earlier comment about just the setup of systems, I think we are done a disservice, either it's schools or whatever it is, and I'm not putting teachers on blast. I think teachers do a phenomenal job, but for some reason we do not, and give them all the raises. I
لما
know
تبقى عارف واحد
parents are
صاحبك
like,
تعليم
I'm like,
مجاني.
this child of mine, I do love them, but
قلت أنا دخل في مناخيرها.
where can I drop them off? And I do think that there's a disservice done because, again, when we talk about them, to your point, we talk about every 4 years. It's important to vote for the presidency. We don't realize, like, oh, snap, we actually can vote about, like, how much our libraries get. It's like small things like that, but they make a big difference.
When you think of voter suppression in this country, what does it look like for you?
It's the systems. When we talk about voter suppression, we also talk about systematic racism, right? It's all the systems that set up. And we've normalized okay, maybe your job will give you a half day, or maybe, you'll be able to get this luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be built into the system. It should be built into the fabric of how we vote. But maybe you'll be able to get this luxury in order to enable you to go vote. Think about everything disenfranchised, marginalized Black person has to endure in a day. So in a day, you need to get to work. If something happens to your car, if something happens to your child care, if something happens to, there's so many factors along the way that can send you into a tailspin as an American. And then you add on as a person of color. If you're just trying to get to vote and you already have to go through all of these hurdles and hoops in your everyday life, imagine the one day when your voice really is supposed to matter the most in this country. But then you also see all the times that you tried to have your voice matter, and then it's been shut down, repressed, told it doesn't matter. And then you're kind of like, what's the point?
How do we keep hope though? If I'm watching this right now, I want to I how do we as a people stay hopeful? How do we believe in the promise that these quote unquote forefathers have given us?
Because have you met Black people? By default, like hope is infused in our DNA. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, by the, like, if we haven't been broken now through, be it through slavery, through
Give
capitalism,
it to me.
through
Give it to me.
colonization, through segregation, through, I mean, listen, the history of Black people in this country is, at one point we were 3/5 people. That's it.
At one point,
That was a written law. And look at us now. We are whole. We are Black girl magic. We are Black boy joy. We are, you know what I'm saying? What I think about in terms of giving us hope, right? We're making a lot of people nervous right now, Carrie. We're making a lot of people nervous right now because they're like, dang, we put all these obstacles in their way, and these jokers are resilient.
الو
But that should give us hope. That should give us hope that, like, we can't stop, won't stop. I mean, I went to the school of Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Hashtag
يعني
about
من
about
يجلس
Harlem
تحرك
shaking
الوحيد
right
على
now.
كيف
We can't stop, won't stop. And I think that's our motto. We can't stop voting and we won't stop voting. We can't stop marching and we won't stop marching. We can't stop thriving and we won't stop thriving.
to that end, because you led me directly there, I've been asking everyone who's appeared on this platform, what does activism look like? And I feel like back in the day, we had an idea. Yes, it is marching. Yes, it is protesting. Yes, it is speaking out against things that we feel are not right or unjust. But talk to me about what activism looks like for Yvonne Orji.
Listen, activism, I think the beauty of activism is that it has many faces, right? You're going to have the people on the front lines. Like, you know what? Martin Luther King marched, but there were a lot of women who were in the homes like, hey, BT Dubs, when they come back, this is how we support all the people who are marching on the front lines. And we're going to be here doing what we know to do best here. And you know what? Somebody needs to bail them out of jail so now we need to be in the community, getting money or whatever it is. So it's like everybody has a position to play. And so play your position like a shortstop, bro. So whoever you are and whatever you do, play your position. So activism could look like, you know what? I'm not the one that's built to be on the front line, but you know what? My pockets go deep, so I'm gonna support the people on the front line. I'm a comedian. Black joy is a form of activism.
There's always a call for entertainers or celebrities that have the platform
ذلك
to do something. Why aren't you speaking out? I'm not a believer in thinking that it's mandatory. Like you said, everyone can be an activist and be activated in different ways. But talk to me about the connection. Talk to me about the marginalization in your world and how you feel like it even inspires you to say more and use your platform to do more.
Beneath the surface of what we do, like Niecy Nash says, it's the who, right? The who is the person who's going to be like, hey, let me call this out. Either blind racism in terms overt racism in terms of ways that we can be better, in terms of ways that we can actually be more uplifting to the community that you may not even realize that you're serving.
Before I let you go, talk to me about the urgency, in your opinion, for people to vote, our people to get out and vote this coming fall.
Yeah, I mean,
كلميني عن الانتخابات
Guys,
طبعا.
guys, if you think you're tired now, I'm telling you right now, we cannot take this sitting down. We can't take this jokingly. I understand that it may be hard to figure out who to vote for, but at the end of the day, we gotta vote for our
هتدلوا
families. We gotta
تصوتوا
vote for our legacy.
وخ-
We gotta vote for continued progress. We have to vote for upward mobility. We have to vote for equality in a way
أظن
that is long lasting.
تموت ولا
And
إيه؟
if we succeeded before, we can do it again. You talk about the hope.
وأنت
This is
شكلك
this
نمت.
is the time. This
انا
is
شوي
this is
شوي.
not the time to give up. This is not the time to pretend a way that we haven't made progress. We have. There's still
أول
much
لما يخلص
more to be
الطفل
done. And you know what? We
ممكن.
might have to get to a point where we pass the baton to our children and our children's children, but we still have work to do now for that generation.
Von Orgy, you are everything. You are Molly, but you are not Molly. But I love you so much as Molly on HBO's Insecure. You are an amazing podcaster, Jesus and Jola. Shout out to Lovey. And then we also have movies. Like you, the world. You're a model, a cover model. Also, wait, don't let me forget your hugely successful stand-up comedy special on HBO. Girl, you're doing it all, and I am so grateful. You're truly the dream, not just the American dream. You're the black girl, brown girl, do it all dream, the immigrant dream, everything. You're a beautiful, beautiful soul. I really, really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Yvonne Orgy, ladies and gentlemen, nothing but the best and excellence personified. Thank you so much, my friend.
I love you so much, Mama. Mwah.
Yeah, la la.
So Atlanta has been one of the hotbeds in terms of political unrest and social injustice. We've seen so much happen in that city, and we've also seen so much come from that city, including one of our very own founding fathers of the civil rights movement, and that's Martin Luther King Jr. But right now, we want to welcome in someone who has used his platform to talk about voting, to talk about racial injustice, and how he's trying to help. Atlanta's very own Russ joins us now.
تمام.
Russ, I'm not going to
Drums
fan out
and
one
aces.
of my favorite songs
Seba.
that I listen to repeat on yours. We're going to get to the topic
Seba.
at hand. So we got to talk
بلعب
about
باليد
recently
للسابع.
you did an interview where you shared your outlook on culture.
يعني أنت
and
بتلعب
music.
من
And
أي
you've also
سيزون
been
بأي
very
حاجة.
candid about the fact that
الخامس.
you have a privilege and that it's necessary for you to give back. Tell everybody about what that means.
As like it's very obvious, I'm white and I'm in black culture and I'm benefiting financially off of it. So I feel like if you're a white person financially benefiting off of black culture, you have to put finances back into black culture. It's just that simple. The screenshots with your feelings, it just comes off like fake empathy because it comes off very dismissive and very oh, that sucks for y'all. But anyway, back to what I was doing.
روح
Have you
نتطشر.
felt that way always, or is it now because of the time where we are in this country?
طلع
I've always had the
الزبيب
feeling.
فوق.
I think now it's just obviously elevated. It's a new level, and there's new. It's to the point now where you can't. First of all, you can't not say anything. Second of all, though, I just think saying something isn't enough anymore. I think, if you have the ability to put money back into a culture that you're financially benefiting from, have the ability to, you should.
It's interesting that you talk about it in that way because some people do
أنا في
believe
العيني على
that
فكرة.
silence is the best way
اسمع
to go
بس.
because it's hard to talk race, especially if you're
فتح
white and
كده
you're in
دي.
black culture. People just feel as if they can't talk about it. They
شفتك.
feel awkward. They feel as if they don't have the privilege or the voice.
خد
or the
بالك
words.
معايا رصد
How do you
الدي
find
جي اللي
yourself
كنت
right
عاملها.
now in terms of interacting with people when they want to talk to you about social injustice, police brutality, what's going on in this country right now?
Well, first of all, picking and choosing whether you want to be silent or not about race, that's a privilege in and of itself. But no, I mean, I try to just do my best to listen to the black people around me and the educated black people I have in my life. So I do my best to not act like I have all the answers for everything, especially in a culture that I'm not from. But that's why when we decided to raise the money for Black Lives Matter organizations, when we raised 500,000, we got on the phone with some of the women who started Black Lives Matter. I got on the phone with Tamika Mallory. I was on the phone with Karen Civil and talking with my friends to make sure the money went to like the correct places, and people who really need it. It's just about listening. That's all. It's about listening.
let's talk about that for a moment because the way I think of activism for me, it looks very
خلاص
differently. It's not necessarily just protesting on the front lines. I think that's great. But what about
ضمات
being an activist in the way in
ضمانه
which you have decided to be one? What inspired you? What did it look like? You said you raised money for Black Lives Matter. What did you do?
Mhm.
Walk us through everything that you did and how you find yourself in this moment right now.
So for
نايس
me,
نايس
it was 3 years ago. I had like a
I'm a
string of
savage
festivals,
classy
and I decided that I was going to wear T-shirts with a message on them because I figured, what better, what better time to use a platform than in front of a bunch of people. So one of the T-shirts I wore was, "If you want to change the system, speak up. White silence is pro-racism. The whole thing." And it didn't really it kind of got swept under the rug back then. But when all this stuff started happening again, and it's been happening, the police brutality against innocent black people, I was like, man, I'm not the biggest artist in the world, and I certainly don't have the most white fans in the world, but I got a good amount of people that I can definitely mobilize and turn into some money. And I know they're down for the cause because it's merch,
تغلون
it's a good thing. And I've always been outspoken anyway. And so how am I going to be in black culture and not be outspoken about racism?
And then I got to ask you this because you grew up in Atlanta, so that gives you a heads up, depending for so
أي
many people,
معترض
because you're in the crux of
وأنا
that
مربع
beautiful
أي
black
معنى
city
مربع
where there's
بصراحة
so many wonderful black leaders, home of so much great music and things that speak to our culture right now.
أصلا أنا
And
طلعت
we are really, really getting our word out, especially with this platform
هادو
today, and saying that we must use our voice to
هادو
vote. Talk to me about what the importance of voting for you
هدي
in
بجد بقى يا
this
حمدي، هدي
election.
بجد، هدي هدي.
Yeah, so
هتنام
full
طيب
transparency, I had never voted
اطلع
هكمل
بس
ever.
خلص
هكمل لسه لما
Um,
يخلص خالص
and because I was one of
لسه
those
ما
people
خلصش
who
شوف.
was like,
مش
my vote
هيخلص
doesn't matter, and I don't know, maybe it's because I was younger, maybe it's because I really thought that, or I don't know, but I just
والله
think that it's got to, now this is a bit of a privilege to say it's got to a breaking point for me, because obviously it's been past the breaking point for black people, but I think that as a whole, the young people need to get out and vote because we're the ones.
طردت من البارتي رويال. يلا انا هقفل، مسجل الخرا، هقفل الستريم وهروح انام.